Everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So guys, I've gotten this question a few times. Why don't I like Donald Trump? This question always shocks me. I'm further to the left than most people I know. So it's like, why don't you like this right winger? Me having to go at one of the other politicians doesn't put any shine on somebody else. It's specific to that person. When I evaluate them, I evaluate each of those things as separate and distinct things. But I'm going to answer this. I'm going to give a fair and honest answer. And I'm going to take this answer seriously. Why I don't like Donald Trump. So, the first one has to be he demagogues. He demagogues. He plays identity politics. Now, I know you're probably like, no way, Trump doesn't play identity politics. Trump does play identity politics. You don't see it because from your particular perspective, you consider yourself a baseline, a default. Your perspective is not a default. Your perspective is relative to other people's perspective. So when Trump is coming out and he's saying something like, Mexicans are rapists and drug dealers, or when he's being misogynist, or when he's bashing like blacks or immigrants or Muslims, whatever, he's distinctifying you. What I mean is he's essentially making you distinct. He's creating an us versus them. That is the definition of identity politics. I mean, he's literally essentially saying we're one, and those people, they're taking advantage of us in some way. And again, it's consistent. It's what he did the entire campaign. He still does it now. I don't like identity politics. I don't care who does it. I don't care if it's Trump. I don't care if it's Democrats. And here's a newsflash. Both do it. They do it in slightly different ways, but the effect is for the most part the same. Trump is more exclusive. It's more of it's us. I'm going to make America great again. I'm going to give us back America. Democrats are more so inclusive in the way they go about it. Essentially saying, we're open tent. Come on in. In practice, though, what it ends up being is both of these guys are bouncing off one another. It's the parties themselves, to some degree, are the problems. Are the problem. But the demagoguery thing is, I can't get past it. Because at the end of the day, he is attacking somebody's identity. Meaning, I know you feel affirmed by it. You think he's just quote-unquote telling it like it is. He's not just telling it like it is. He's bashing somebody else. And he's doing it for a political reason. To get you on his side. That's the only reason. He may feel that way to some degree, but for the most part, when he's doing it, he's making you distinct. And he's trying to get across this idea that, look, I'm here. I'm one of you. I'm going to look after you. These guys, they're taking advantage of you. And look, there's another reason why this works. To some degree, there's the people who support him. There's a reality to it. Like, it's not completely, they're not completely wrong, but it's like, look, some of the things that happen in politics, the beliefs, the ideas that people have, those aren't really those people's ideas. Like, some of that stuff is like a societal memory of sorts. Keep in mind, we have an overarching society, but we also have specific societies within it. You can call them demographics. Those demographics have different memories or cultural memories, things that they look at, things that they see, things or values that they hold to be true. And those specific societies, even though they can be observed, it's hard to understand them unless you're a part of them, because you don't necessarily weigh things in that way. So in this case, when Trump is coming out and he's making these arguments, these cases, he's making his specific society distinct. That particular society does have a reality where they're looking at that's confirming what Trump is saying. Like, goes in this case, the Democrats. Now, when the Democrats passed the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, it was for good reasons. It was for good reasons. They were reaching out to the African American vote. And if you look at it, to this day, blacks overwhelmingly vote Democrat by like 90-some%. Hispanics, it's up there at 60-70%. LGBTQ, school, kids. That is a big tent. For the most part, all the minorities have lined up under one party. Now, if you're a Republican, you're a white male. You're not racist or anything like that. But you see one party, it's full of people who don't necessarily look like you. Again, you're not necessarily racist or anything like that. But you see this other party. Now, you have this emotional level of comfort with, for the most part, people who you yourself identify with. It's not like you're taking this overt opinion that somebody is bad because of a particular race or anything. But there is this kind of cultural comfort associated with, this is my pact. Now, if you don't necessarily have something that can distinguish your party beyond that particular identity thing, you're going to lose that person. Not because any particular idea is better, but just because the person feels more at home in this particular party. So, when those guys, to this, and understand the case I'm making this point that because the Democratic Party, for the most part, has so many minorities associated with it, it stains that party as almost a minority party or party for the minorities. The Republican Party, just from a comfort level, accrue in the Republican Party. Now, to this, Republicans take the next step of say, look, we're trying to lower your taxes. Democrats are trying to take your money and give to all of those minorities that make up that party. You don't want to do that, right? I mean, for the most part, you're a hard-working American. You're a maker. You're not a taker. Those guys are takers. They're trying to take your money. Now, they're only making this argument because they want to get their friends tax cuts. And they need to come up with a reason to get you, a hard-working person who's barely making ends meet, to say, yes, those millionaires and billionaires should have a tax cut. God damn it, give them a tax cut. They're not giving you that argument for you. They're giving you that argument for the people who are paying them. But they're essentially creating this case based upon aspects of reality that are real. So it's not like these people are just being willfully racist or something like that. For the most part, the reality is a consequence of, it's like the political momentum from the 60s. They did a good thing. It just had the consequence of creating that perception, that cultural perception of that specific society, that that party is not for us. This party is for us. To overcome that hurdle, you have to have something other than identity. To make these people who are in this party, who feel alienated, not alienated because you did anything wrong per se, just alienated just because there's so many people that don't necessarily look like them, and it's comfortable. Not to mention, the people who does look like them, the party that they're in, the party held, that they might have even grown up in, are telling them, you're a maker. It assuages their ego, makes them feel good. Yes, goddammit, I'm a maker. And those people are trying to take it. What? They're trying to take it. It plays, all these things play off of each other, but many of these things aren't necessarily real. I can make the same case for Democrats. I mean, granted, I'm focusing on Trump on this one, but those same illusions, that same mechanism works on the other side of the aisle. So this is not me picking on one or the other. I'm just making this point that part of the reason that it works, this demagoguery, this identity politics stuff, for either side, is because it does strike at the core of the person. And when there's nothing else to focus on, it's going to win out. It's going to win out. These guys don't go to this for no reason. They go to it because it does work, particularly when there's nothing else to argue over. I don't like the demagoguery. I don't like it. I think it's completely unnecessary. I don't think all these people flocked to Trump to vote for Trump because he was being a demagogue, he was being a racist. I think those people are already in the party. And I don't necessarily think that everybody that's in that party is that way, but, you know, there's also this aspect of the Democrats dropped the ball. Like, so they want to tar people in that way, or call them racist and all this other stuff. I don't think that at all. The point I'm making is the demagoguery, the identity stuff allows them to tar him in that way. If he didn't necessarily do that, they wouldn't be able to necessarily play off that card. But look, I don't particularly like it either way. I'm African American, so I have a bias in this sense. You should treat people fairly. You shouldn't behave in that way. The second one has to do with he lies shamelessly. Like, he lies constantly. Like any particular press conference, I shouldn't even have to go through this one. That was not the largest inauguration in the history of inaugurations. There were no people celebrating when the buildings came down in 9/11. It's one thing after the other. Yes, your dad gave you money to start a company. It wasn't necessarily a loan. It's one thing after the other. He just finds these weird things to lie about. That's a problem in general. You need to have some level of trust in the things that the president is saying. If the president lies this flamboyantly, certainly you know that's a problem. Don't be a hack on this one. This is actually a big deal. When your president comes out, he makes a case. Shouldn't you have some level of credibility for somebody who has $1 trillion military at their disposal? And the last one. He has absolutely no clue how to fulfill his biggest campaign agenda, meaning bring back jobs. And understand, up to this point, he's been buying off companies, essentially saying, here's money, stay in the United States, tweeting at them. Certainly you don't believe that this is going to work. He's been cutting off environmental regulations, cutting taxes, all this stuff. He doesn't understand the problem. So there's no way this stuff is going to work for a solution. The only thing this is going to do is expand income inequality more than it currently is. So follow the stones with me. A company increases profits. By how? We're in a capitalistic model. This model, the goal is to maximize profit, more capital. If you're in a capitalistic model and your goal is to maximize profit, as a company, how do you do that? You fire workers, you automate processes, you get trade deals passed so you can push those jobs overseas and lower, instead of paying $15 an hour, I can pay this guy $3 an hour. You lower their wages. Particularly if you have a large workforce, meaning you have a lot of people looking for work, you can definitely lower their wages even further. It just so happens that all of the mechanisms that allow a company to increase their profits also allows companies to get rid of employees. So for instance, you have all these taxis. A company starts installing automated drivers. All those taxi cabs, those people lost their jobs. 7-Eleven installs technology where you walk in, take anything you want, and it automatically charges your card. A person is not necessary in this process. All the people who work for 7-Eleven are out of a job. The burger places get Flip-O-Matic, a machine that can automatically fill up hamburgers. Those people are out of a job. Now, the companies who got rid of these people and automated that process, keep in mind the productivity is still there, meaning that particular company is still doing that particular thing. But the worker who was making money off of it before is gone. The profits of that particular worker, meaning the money that that particular person would have made in that particular part of the job, goes purely to management. They don't have to pay for that worker anymore. For the most part, management can accrue all of that wealth. You can go down the line, each of these jobs. Once you automate the process, you can kick more revenue to the top, continue with the same level of productivity, if not more, but you fire the worker. Now understand the problem with this. Each of those jobs, each of those people that were filled by people, now these people cannot afford the service or the item that their company was making. Bill Gates is a very rich man, but Bill Gates is not buying 300 million cars. Meaning you need the middle class to buy that stuff, to keep the economy afloat, to keep the economy going. If you don't have it, meaning if all these people are losing jobs, these people cannot afford to keep the economy afloat. The activities of the economy, in and of itself, just the way it behaves on a basic level, just a fundamental level, eats itself. It eats itself. So yes, you're going to see people accrue massive amounts of wealth, but you're also going to see desperate poverty at the exact same time. Those things are interrelated with one another. That's not a bug, that's a feature. It's how the system works. How is Donald Trump going to convince a company to not send the job overseas when they can cut the pay of the person down by $10, $12? How's he going to make that case? Even if he gives them a tax cut, they're going to put that in their pocket. The point is for them to accrue as much profit as possible. These are the means in which they use to accrue as much profit. He has no capacity to do anything about this. Like his cutting taxes. Under this model, they're just going to put it in their pocket. They have no... Look, they're not going to buy an additional employee if they have all the employees necessary to do a job. That employee is expensive. Part of the reason why they want to automate, part of the reason why they want to ship those jobs overseas is because they want a cheaper worker. Or not a worker at all, meaning a person. So how's Trump, in this model, going to address any of that? How is he going to address all the poverty from the people who are losing their jobs? Not because they did anything wrong, just because technology, disruptive technology. How is he going to deal with the people who need a job, can't find a job, because for the most part those jobs are becoming less and less available? What is he going to do? What is he going to do? My point to you is he has no clue. He has none of the things that he's doing is going to work. All of these things are going to put more money into certain people's pockets. Those people are not going to take that money and do a job. Even if Trump wanted to say, all right, we're going to do a green energy revolution. Because of his ideology, that doesn't even come through. He could literally go in like a Marshall Plan, give all his cronies a bunch of money in order to build all these green energy things and make America a green energy country. He could do it. But his ideology is oil. Oil. I'm being paid by people for the most part to deal with oil. So that goes off the way. So again, even his ideology prevents him from doing things that would help the people of this particular country. At the very least, stave off this reality where all these jobs just go away by virtue of our momentum, technologically. I dislike Trump for a myriad of reasons. Part of which, again, leading to this one, is just incompetence. I want a government that works. And he has no way of reaching a point to A, fulfill the things that he's talking about fulfilling, meaning bringing back jobs and making America great again. B, the demagoguery is just hateful, period. And C, you need somebody who's not just going to lie to you flamboyantly and over the top. And come on, man. Certainly you know this guy lies through his teeth constantly. If you ask me why I don't particularly like him, I believe in climate change. I want clean air and clean water. I don't want cronies essentially filling up the swamp with alligators in Washington. I don't want that stuff. So no, I don't particularly like him. If I'm having to go at a Democrat or something like that, that Democrat probably did something wrong, but that in no way makes its opposite better. They can both be goblins. Evaluate each individually, separately, not together. It's not grading on the curve. How these people, how these things align with your values. And Trump in no way, at all, with the exception of maybe killing that TPP, aligns with my values. So yes, I don't like him. I don't like him. He's a war criminal at this point too, so there's even that. Alright guys, if you enjoy the content, feel free to like or to share. Thank you.